My name is Amy Bogard.
And I'm Mike the Hobbit.
And we are the hosts of Deeply Upsetting, where we use our expertise to answer your most upsetting hypothetical quandaries, such as, what non-winged animal deserves wings?
And what body part deserves a secret mouth?
Which cryptid is the worst roommate?
These questions and more that plague you will be answered on Deeply Upsetting, available anywhere you get your podcasts and at GUIPodcast.com. The views and opinions expressed on Geekfather are those of the panelists and not those of the Geeks Under the Influence Network, their affiliates, or sponsors. Listener discretion is advised. This is for the parents and not for the kiddies.
Geekfire!
Can you try one more time? Say Geekfather real loud.
Geekfire way loud! I just did it.
Hey guys, welcome back. That's right, it's another wild and crazy week here through quarantine, pandemic,
Wacky.
stuff, Delta variant, if you will. But if you hear this lovely, lovely songbird of a voice, you know what time it is. It is time for the Geekfathers.
That's right.
That's right. I am Scotty P, bringing all the trials and tribulations of being a geeky parent, along with my partner in crime here, Mr. Kyle Smash.
What's going on, guys?
What's up, man?
What's up?
So
Everything
it's been,
good?
Crazy 2 weeks, obviously, since our last episode. We've had enough going on.
There's always so much.
So much. We had a little extra, unfortunately, in the Preston household. But before we get into all that, I just want to say a big thank you to not only our listeners, whether it's been since day one, since this is your first episode, it doesn't matter. Geekfathers has officially hit episode number 100. We are at episode 100, guys, for the Geekfathers on the GUI Network, so thank you very much. It's much appreciated. It's been a wild ride, to say the least.
Yeah, a lot of changes in this particular podcast.
Very much so, which, first off, thank you for joining me as co-host as well, Smash, I must say.
Thanks for asking me.
Yeah, I mean, it's the least I could do. It was crazy. Definitely my original idea for this. And guys, if you don't know, I mean, this is basically 3 years in the making. I believe, if I remember correctly, this was the first show on the network besides Flagship.
I think so, yeah. No, I think it was. Beautiful Disaster. No,
official show. There was a couple of those Boozer episodes that were done, but I don't think a regular show has been done.
I guess that's either good or bad that it's been so long and we've been doing this so long that you can't remember.
Right. It's either way. It's a great thing for me starting doing these little mini episodes by myself.
Yeah. The time was great. We're just too fucking old.
Exactly. Like, I mean, you can ask my wife. My timeline is off anyways. From starting in just my little office hovel in my house of doing little mini episodes, essentially 10, 15 minutes, even 20 minutes of me talking to myself is really down to for, well, I would say the first year and a half almost before really anything happened. And then, fortunately, I had the idea of I had to start bouncing stuff off people because I even have an old episode called Devil's Advocate where I was playing my own Devil's Advocate where I had to sit there, talk about something, and then sit there and go, well, no one else is here, so let me go over the pros and cons by myself.
That's a lot to ask of anybody, I'll be honest with you. It's not... the brain, I think, can only switch back so fast. Unless
Very, very much so. And especially thank you for anybody if you were listening back at that time where these episodes were a little crazy, but some of the first co-hosting was actually the first GalaxyCon where, who was it? I think I had Steven and Hunter for that first GalaxyCon.
You did.
And then you did the next year after that. You did the 2020 right before we hit the pandemic time, the dark time last year.
God, was that 2020? It actually, that legitimately feels like years ago.
I know, exactly.
Like, it feels just like years ago.
But that's what we've been doing with GUI is that's been our timeline for stuff is GalaxyCon Richmond 2020 was that last weekend, and within 2 to 3 weeks after that is when school started shutting down and people were working from home way more often. But this is more so of a happy episode, I hope, for, again, anybody sticking around if you have gone back and listened. But I've been very fortunate that, first off, that Hobbit, thank you to him, because it was even before Steven was an official partner, where he totally supported a new show. We were already talking about expanding the network. And my original idea, even though I'm not even doing anything close to what my original thought process was, but it still stems from, we had so many GUI episodes and we were all there recording together, but we were talking about our kids. We were, most of us are parents in some form or another. A couple of uncles, because we're mainly males on the show, but even the females that have been on, mothers, aunts as well. During breaks and everything, we would always be talking about the kids. How we had to rearrange our schedule to record the episode, who was doing what thing happened that previous week for school. And that's really where this thing 3 years later has really come about to be part of. We're still part of the geek community. We just got to look at things a little bit differently.
I think after anything that has happened, if you're not looking at things differently, then you've had your eyes closed.
Oh, true.
I think that's sort of that. I think we're almost. I'm hoping at an evolutionary point. A place where we're jumping off to something better. That's right. The hopeful dad in me wants to see the world as it should be.
Absolutely.
But protect them as it is.
Yeah, and let me even clarify further, where as a network, for part of the GUI network, which again, thank you to, again, not only Hobbit, and then of course Steven, unfortunately I think I've only had Steven on for one episode, just because of his crazy schedule with work. The way schedules work out, which again, we've talked about many times as well, just in general with all of us.
Yeah, he's a busy bee.
Right. I've had some great people on. Hunter, FU Hunter, definitely helped me start as the co-hosting. He did the first official co-hosting type episode. But it really helps this show get a good jump point into... I can sit there and talk all day about my kids and our experiences, but I wanted to give more to the people. I wanted to expand our experiences, be able to bounce information off. And that's what's worked, and that's what I appreciate now with my current co-host.
No, you're welcome.
It's thinking, because again, like we're friends, we're great friends, but we definitely still live different lives in a lot of aspects, and we bring that to the show, we bring that to the GUI network.
I guess we really do. I mean, we have just different. I think different ways of being brought up, different cliques. Like honestly, I don't think. You bring up a wonderful thing, because I don't think even between me and the rest of the crew, a lot of you have more of that stuff in common. You're probably the least tattooed. Well, I'm the least tattooed. Tattooed, but there's certain. I guess there's just certain groups that had that sort of. Connection with certain things that I either wasn't a part or came into later.
You're a DC fan.
Well, that's A. I'm not a big punk guy, right. Or heavy metal guy. I do like it. I'm just very, you ask me, like I grew up on like Motown. And my mom used to. She raised me on like the Motown, blues, things like that. So I tend to gravitate towards that type of music. But I do enjoy it. We all have an
appreciation for it, but everybody kind of has. It's like almost like your own personal bubble. But we're fortunately in a group good enough, or I'm looking at me with my great English here. We're in a well enough spot in our lives to where our personal bubbles can cross over without being uncomfortable. We feed off each other, and no matter what the difference is, exactly like we're trying to raise our kids, what we do as part of the GUI network, we give different perspectives. That's what, but there is a baseline where we agree on majority of things.
Yeah, I think from worldly perspectives, maybe ideology, potentially theology, wherever you want to go with it. We probably share common core values or common insights or
right.
Thoughts about the matter, or a particular subject. So I think that's where, that's what has been nice for me is that I came along to this thing a little bit later on. I mean, not just Geekfather, the network in general, before it was a network. Yeah. I came in early on, but I didn't really become a part of the group, I think, until much later on. So, now co-hosting is Geekfather. I don't feel that anymore now. I just feel like, oh no, we have a million things in common.
Yeah, we have our showrunner core.
Because we bridge those things as friends, but we bridge those things as having understanding that parenting is fucking hard.
Exactly.
I've even learned, like, even step parenting is hard, for them. Like, not from a personal perspective, but like, it's parenting in any form when you care and it's hard. And it's hard in this world. It was hard in the world before, and it's hard even being a geek doing it.
Exactly. And just like I was mentioning before, where even as a network, we had to zig and zag and adapt a little bit when quarantine pandemic stuff happened. But that was on top of what you and I, what FU Hunter, what Lowdown, and a couple of others were really dealing with at one point. Was not only are we still trying to keep a show alive, because we love doing this. Obviously, we could just do this talk and not record it, and we'd still have a blast doing it, just like what we always talk about on any other show.
Oh, this shit's all passion. Listen, we're not, we're not.
By no means do we have, like, checks rolling in every week for something or whatever. No way.
No, we're not. Yeah, we're not roguing this shit. This is just a labor of love.
Exactly.
It is. And that's all you can hope for. Anything that you generally do, you love to do. Right. You don't always have to make money on it.
And really, what's helped driven the past couple
money
of
would
years,
be nice. But
I mean, money, of course, make it.
But you don't need to. You don't need to make it to be happy doing this. That's kind of the point.
What really has made me happy with this show, now hitting 100 episodes, because obviously plenty of revamps. Not only adding a co-host to the show, having some great guests on the show as well, which I'll go over that in a moment here. It's really been seeing how, even though it's slower. Mm-hmm. And not as much, of course, as some of the other shows or even Flagship. But sorry, you took a funny sip there, and
was your beer I'm warm, sipping on a beer. Assuming? Yeah, I have I bought specifically two of them because one of them is like 9.1. Actually, both of them are. So I'm just sipping on one, like, very cautiously. And every time I take a sip, it's one of those just like, like it jerks. Right. The people, you can see it right now.
You bought a couple of dick kickers, which is, I mean, granted, Devil's Backbone, but IPA stuff, so I'm not, I love Devil's Backbone, but...
I like the IPAs because it gets to the point, and then you can kind of just responsibly ride that. You know what I mean?
Fair.
Like, I'm too old. There's too much going on for me to, like, feel like shit in the morning. Like, I've got...
Yeah, exactly.
I got a job to do. I got several jobs to do. Like,
Right. But, back to what I was saying, more of the old man tangents already. Just because it's episode 100 doesn't mean we're going to stop that.
Right, I know. I'm old and I'm drinking.
I'm old and I'm drinking, and I'm talking about my fucking crazy kids. So, but guys, I know with all the ebbs and flows with this show and everything, what I was saying was one thing that has really made me happy was seeing the numbers. Whenever even though I'm horrible about some of the social media, seeing when there's even someone just new following on Instagram. Now, granted, there's some of those, like, quote-unquote influencers that will just follow anybody. But when I see legitimate people just out there as part of the world doing their thing, and they're just like, hey, man, we're on the same page. Thank you.
It's pretty. Yeah, that's always pretty cool. But can you riddle me this? What is that? What is the influence? What does that exactly mean? And this is probably just my, like, age coming out, because I mean we're close enough that we saw the emergence of things as simple as, like, AOL. And
basically the whole internet.
Yeah. The whole internet as the public knew it.
Right. Good call.
Not
good
military
call.
Complex, but
right.
At that we saw it kind of that rise and where it is now. So it's a lot easier for our generation to keep up on shit that's going on in the newer generations, especially if you have kids that are getting closer to teens. Trust me, you'll know you'll know if nobody says that.
Which fingers crossed with. I mean, granted, yours is a little bit older than both of mine.
Oh yeah, listen, I heard the other day like nobody says that. Like, really? That's already gone. Like,
okay,
some bitch.
But fingers crossed. Knock on wood. We're still doing some type of iteration of this show by the time, like, say, at least my oldest is some type of teenager. If we can go, I mean, that's another...
You're going to have teenage boys, so...
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. We have so much more content to cover. If we...
Yeah, that has its own set of... I mean, just because we both know what it's like to be a teenage boy.
Well, yeah.
It's not... It's not fun.
No,
it is not a fun time.
I'm surprised most of us have survived. It really does feel like the Hunger Games some days.
Oh, it does. But, I mean, especially the new generation, and that's even more brutal.
Oh, I can only imagine with, and probably the biggest change. And again, as you can tell, episode 100, it's carte blanche. We're going to cover all sorts of stuff here. But again, I appreciate everybody sticking with. Again, we're still adapting. We're still making some changes. We're working on updates. Let me throw that out there before I totally forget on Old Man Tangents and everything. That's probably been one of the main consistencies with this show and what every parent needs to, whether they hear it, whether they need some way to do it themselves. And I say Old Man Tangent because I'm an old man. Smash is an old man. Mm-hmm. Everybody needs to vent. Everybody kind of needs to have that, what we used to call back in our day, mouth diarrhea, where it just comes spilling out, filter.
I think it was word vomit.
That's another great one.
Word vomit.
Word vomit is a great one, sure. We'll stick to that just because it sounds nicer for some reason. But
it might roll off the tongue a little bit better.
Mouth vomit or mouth diarrhea, whichever.
Yeah.
Either way, it is something that it has to be released one way or another. So, and that's really what I feel like what we've still held, since you've become the permanent co-host, what a lot of other friends have at least related to when they've been on a show is that whether you're hearing it, it gives you inspiration. You have a friend, whether you're doing it with a microphone in between or it's just a shoulder to lean on. Every parent, geeky or otherwise, needs to let loose, needs to just spill their guts, let everything out of there, let it be. No resolution is technically needed, but it's here. And you can hear it from us. And like I've taken the Kevin Smith approach. I've said that since day one, since episode 1. The Kevin Smith approach is that I'm going to do this show regardless. Mm-hmm. We are going to do this show regardless. And if you can take just even an inkling of, hey, that's a good idea, or that sparks a thought, sparks an emotion, advice that you can use one day, my job is done. That's the very least I could ask for. And the way our numbers have and the way I've talked to people, and again, it's few and far between, especially in comparison to some of the other shows, is there's something there. What was it? There, I believe the gentleman's name is Greg. He's changed his name on Instagram a couple times, but I follow him with the Geekfathers page, and he was actually at GalaxyCon 2019, and he was there with his family. He great wife, daughter. He does some awesome stuff. We don't communicate normally, but I know outside of a friend loop. I know he's one of, I hope you're still listening, Greg, because I know we don't talk, but he was there. He was one of those main guys that really talked with us at GalaxyCon and talked about what we were there for and really hit on the same page. Even just knowing that one person is out there, again, my job is done. That's the least I could ask for. And that's really what I wanted with this show, is not only for our friends, for us to catch up on what we can do, but if we can put out there going, you're not the only ones. You can still be a big old dork. You can still be some random punk rock dude, whatever, and be a parent and still be able to come together in some form of community, which there are great communities out there. Don't get me wrong. We're definitely not the only one.
Yeah, well, first off, I would hope you're teaching your kids that you get past the superficial part tattoos, whatever
those
somebody
are just the
chooses.
obvious examples. That's why I say
that is the most and really the only present, because everything else, if you could, once that's not an issue, everything else will kind of fall into place. Well, I genuinely believe that. So I always think that's like, that's that general armor to pierce, like with your eyes as a person. Like you should be, I believe as a parent, you should be teaching your kid that, whether I'm hanging out with somebody who's covered in tattoos, wearing a Clerks 3 t-shirt.
Oh, Clerks 3. So another great geek milestone happening at the same time that we're recording this episode.
We're going to talk about that in a moment.
Sure.
But from that guy to anyone else, a dude with a fucking cowboy with actual cowboy hat, and we're all sitting at the same table. You get to a point, hopefully you were taught this too, that shit doesn't matter. If you could find some things to talk about, if you could find some core things to focus on,
right?
A lot of that will drop away. Now, I'm not saying it's everybody, but as a parent, once you have a kid, for me, I knew that before, but that definitely like cemented it for me. Like I would never look at someone and automatically assume that they're not at least worth a conversation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because then
Right. Which again is why the great support that I've received in this community, not only from there have been, I don't want to say, I've gotten famous people to sit there and go, great job and everything. But I've definitely know of some others that have sat there and been like, you're doing a good thing. Whether, as long as the show is being positive, which I know we've had, at the very least, we can say we've given our opinions, which may not always be the most upbeat opinions.
Shit.
Well, but again, that's parenting,
man. In the face of everything, I think we've stayed pretty damn positive.
For the most part, for sure.
As best as anyone can be. Sure. We haven't done it the best. Like, if you've been able to do it in any way, more power to you.
Right. So, actually, let me even give this, because and I lost my original list, but I've had some great guests on, and you becoming the co-host, but you still did a couple episodes prior as well, before becoming permanent co-host.
I think I did. You did a few. I did a handful, quite a few.
Oh, yeah. Which was part of what led into it works for you being the co-host. I mean, it worked out great, and nothing against anybody else.
Well,
of course.
I gave up. I put Smash Talk on on deep freeze for the time being. So
right, which and that's another story altogether. But I've had some really great friends on. Not always often, because again, when you're talking about kids and stuff, schedule has probably been one of the hardest parts for us, which is again why this show really was able to kick off to where it's not as formal as GUI Flagship or maybe some of the other shows, but we're able to come on here and we can spout for over 20 minutes on just talking about, we're on episode 100, yay, and we're talking about random shit already, old man tangents out the window and everything else. But a few people I wanted to say a big thank you to for also coming on the show. Part of it was, of course, to help them. They a couple of them were promoting a few things, but I want to say they would have done it anyways. It's not like there was any type of transaction, so to say. We were able to help each other out, and I was able to get friends on the show. But some of them were definitely like Michelle Lyons, who is now in Tennessee. A big thank you to her. She hopped on. She's got a couple of great kids. Even her daughter has even babysat for my kids as well. So I mean, it's and I've known Michelle since high school, and we had such a fun episode. She was able to tell some great stories with her kids. My friend Robin, who is a teacher, which was, I definitely wanted more of my teacher friends on, which I would still love to. That's a shout out to any of my teacher friends who want to hop on. If you got something we can talk about, by all means, let me know. But my friend Robin, who I've known basically since technically right after high school and everything, she did a great program with her high school class and they put on a wrestling show. They actually hired, well, I say hired, they got wrestlers to come on and they put on a wrestling show in the school. They did some great stuff like that. She was able to come on and talk about her son and some other stuff she's done. And then you have even my buddy Chris, who is the co-owner, I'll say, with his partner Chastity, of Flash Delirium LLC.
Yeah,
which
it's good stuff coming from them. I just
dude, yes, I love.
Yeah, I like that.
Love what he's doing.
I really appreciate their art.
And if you go back to listen to that episode with Chris, he dropped a couple hints about some of the stuff that they're just now releasing. So Chris, again, thank you, and all these people I would love to have back on the show so we can do some catch up time and everything. But again, the past year and a half it's made it difficult.
Well, there's been a I guess paradigm shift in the way things are done. So, once we can acclimate to that, I think things will be a little easier. But that'll definitely be, I think, a more important aspect going forward is actually having other people on again to talk to, ask their opinions. I would like to get a teacher on here. I think that is one thing that we haven't done is to specifically get a teacher and see things from, allow them to speak. Obviously, if anybody wanted to come on, you're more than welcome. We'll just pick a name for you. You don't have to tell what school or what system.
Absolutely not. No. We may talk
full
a lot of
anonymity.
Stuff. Yeah, I mean, if I'll leave it up to them. I'll say that.
Well, that's on them. Yeah,
it's on them. Totally on them.
Contractually, it's whatever you would like.
Exactly. But those are just a few of the people. Obviously, including Hunter, Lowdown. Even we've had Groots on as well.
Oh, good old Groots. I miss Groots. I haven't seen Groots in a long time.
I've been able to catch up with him a few times. We've had a few situations, like we went to Scares That Care and stuff and everything, which was, we talked about that last episode. But more so it's the time that these people have taken out knowing what we do on the show, knowing what we talk about, and taking that time out to... Yes, there may have been a promotion of a wrestling show or of a company startup and different things like that, but we're still all in the same boat.
Yeah.
The power that these people are able to do certain things that we're able to hold tight on what we do while still being parents and holding on to what...
We're all rowing in the same direction,
Exactly. We're all in the same ocean. We just may have a slightly different boat.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah,
that was cute.
Thank you.
That was cute.
I have my moments.
That was nice.
I try.
That was a sweet sentiment.
But and there's other great shows that give influence as well. Like I said, Kevin Smith will always be an influence for podcasting. I mean, GUI is...
Well, Kevin Smith is synonymous with podcasting.
Exactly.
But he's synonymous with other things, and that's the amazing thing about him, amongst other things. But
right. But even the podcasting that he's done with... He even has his own show with his daughter now, too.
Yeah.
Vegan Avatar is... a great show. I'm not a vegan, but what they talk about and what they do on that show is great, and it just shows what relationship they have.
Here's a geeky parent view of it now. When I was younger, pre-parent, I loved Kevin Smith for the straight humor of it.
For sure, yeah.
Okay, that is how I did not look at it any deeper than that. It was just comfortable. It was just I loved watching his movies. I remember seeing Chasing Amy. At the local theater.
Oh, yeah.
With a girl. Oh, wow. I couldn't even...
Woo.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah. But it was, it was like... I appreciated it for different things, right? I was...
Right.
As I've gotten older and became a parent, I found myself watching it, still having those residual feelings about it as I did when I was younger.
For sure.
But now seeing things in a deeper context, and whether he means to do it or not, he's got Clerks 3 coming out. Now,
yeah,
Clerks 1 and 2, like each one of those movies, especially when he got up to being like a father and his movies changed.
Right.
I'm fairly drastic.
Well, starting with Jersey Girl.
Sure, starting with Jersey Girl. Which
very underrated in my opinion.
It kind of... I don't care who says shit. It pisses me off when people talk shit on that movie. Right. I love that movie.
I do too.
I love it. It's got, even if you don't like Ben Affleck whoever, Jennifer Lopez.
Right.
It's got
George Carlin.
Sorry, it's this.
I know you were having a moment. You were having a moment. Yes.
I was trying to swallow the IPA.
Well, I was trying to cover for you, but okay.
I appreciate it. Yes, but he's in it, and his comic genius in it is so simple and effective and just in your face. But it was the way that it was directed, where I imagine a father directing it, and I got it.
Exactly.
And as I've got, and I just watched it recently, like maybe within the last 4 or 5 months, and I saw it in a different way. And that's what being a geeky parent, to me, one of my favorite things is to see these movies, that I grew up with.
Right.
From a different perspective as a father. But then seeing if, as long as they're appropriate for the age, and for me, seeing their reaction to it.
Yeah.
Do they have the same reaction or feeling to it that I did? That's what timeless means, is because these things, it doesn't matter. These things, it doesn't matter when they were made or how old they are.
Yeah.
If you're a kid that sees at the right age with that enthusiasm, especially with a geeky father or geeky parents like us.
Well, just like we were talking about with Ghostbusters last episode.
Will they love it just as much, and will it be for the same reasons? Will it be for the humor of it, or just because we loved it so much? But as I've gotten older, I'm just saying Kevin Smith is a lot more of a genius because he's unapologetically him. And that I can't appreciate more.
Exactly. Well, yeah. And again, this is going to be one of those old man tangents because I was very fortunate enough to go to the opening weekend of Smodcastle.
Geeky fucking tangent.
It is. It's a great. Honestly, if Kevin Smith hasn't heard about our network in some way or another, because I know I've told him directly, so hopefully he remembers. It just depends on how many joints he's in for that day.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. But GUI Network has a weird love for Kevin Smith. We all love Kevin Smith on so many different levels.
I don't know if it's some of you it's a weirder love.
Well, my wife.
Maybe not you. I don't know.
You've been to my house. I mean,
I have been to your house. Yeah.
I mean, when you walk into my house and there's the Kevin Smith signed Jersey Girl poster, 24 by 36, hanging right there by the front door. That's the type of house we have. We have all the Kevin Smith stuff separated, DVDs and otherwise, from the other stuff as part of the personal collection.
Which is awesome. Listen, I'll be clear too. My kid is not old enough to have seen any Kevin Smith style movies.
Oh no,
except for like Masters of the Universe.
You know what? The boys haven't even watched that yet.
She watched a little bit of it. And was like, She had no. It didn't matter.
With the boys, it could be hit or miss. They'll watch an episode or two and be like, "That's awesome," and then they'll forget about it for a week or two, and then come back.
I think it's definitely more geared towards adults.
Oh, he said that directly, but I'm not going to get into the naysayer bullshit.
Geeky. No, we're not doing that. But Geeky Parent Tangent, I'm going to tell you right now, I just saw an advertisement for a CGI version of a Masters of the Universe reboot. Not the same Kevin Smith.
Yep.
A reboot.
Yep. He
on Netflix.
He has said that in interviews, which is why I forget.
He went and changed the direction?
No, which is why he only wanted to do that. He wanted nothing to do with the reboot, if I remember correctly. I mean, and I could be wrong.
Because what? They're just taking the original cartoons and CGIing them?
He wanted to do that, and the reason why they were able to push it through so quickly is because they are working on the reboot. They wanted to get that done. And it's that weird, where they're just like, we're going to give you 4 different versions of basically the same thing. One is going to be the continuation of the original shit. And then there's going to be reboot, remake, and something else happening as well right after.
What in the hell? Who's behind that wheel? They're drunk. They really need to pull over, okay, and fucking surrender the keys, because you really only need one or the other, okay? Either have a straight reboot or keep Kevin Smith's. I've watched the Kevin Smith, most of it. I have not seen the last 2 episodes. And so far, I'm like, okay, this isn't the He-Man I grew up with, but I'm an adult now. I see things a little bit differently. I appreciate it.
Dude, and again,
No, go there.
See, because that's where my brain's going to. Okay. I got a burp, and because I'm about to let out a bunch more.
I know your ears are fucking red. Just let it out.
Oh, I know, dude. Where
vein in your forehead.
First off, if you didn't already know, I'm a fan of Kevin Smith. So there are so many naysayers, because this goes back to what you were saying in general, was that there are so many naysayers about the way he has done stuff. People need to progress. They need to grow. They need to do different things. He's always said that from when he did some of the original Q&As, like some of the first evening with Kevin Smith, which if you didn't know, there's a very few people that do know. At one time, me and unfortunately I'm not friends with him anymore, but this buddy and I, we binged that thing for 24 hours, which means we watched it 4 times straight.
Jesus.
And that thing is 6 hours long, the original evening with Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
Because we had the time, fucking a fan of his work, and that was the first what you were able to see en masse of him doing just Q&As and talking with people, finding out where these things are coming from.
That was at I can't remember what college that was at.
It was like 5 different colleges where they pulled
edited
material
it together.
from. Yeah. They spliced times together.
Was that around when no, that wasn't Cop Out. I was thinking.
No, that was before. The first one was before Cop Out.
Way before. Like he was at like 4 or 5 by the time we got to Cop Out, right?
He had, I believe, Chasing Amy was the newest one at the time when the first evening with Kevin Smith came out.
What a great movie that is.
Fuck yes.
Listen, I'm sure I don't know for
this
sure.
This has turned into the Kevin Smith episode.
That's apparently fine. Listen,
which is fine for episode.
It's 100th episode. Geeky Parent. We never ever claimed we would stay on topic for shit. So if you're still listening, good on you. We appreciate it. If you're not, we don't blame you. Right. We're just tangenting. You can come back to it later.
Because this would probably be a conversation we would be having anyways. We just happen to be recording it.
Exactly.
So.
What was I saying about Kevin Smith and how wonderful it is?
All the Kevin Smith.
All over the face, neck, and chest.
Thank you. I have not heard that in so long.
I shouldn't. I was saying it very quiet, because there's still like, people in the house that you just have to make sure an F word every now and then they don't pay attention to, but you just want to make sure.
They hear a phrase of face, neck, and chest, and they're like, "What?
What is that? Yeah, we don't want.
What do you mean by that?" And then you're like,
It makes me feel.
I don't even have a response to that.
It makes me feel nauseous to even think about having a quick a response to that.
I don't. Yeah, that's a conversation.
I don't.
That's part of one of those things where you just were like, you've got to talk to your kids about certain things at one point, but then you're like, you're gonna have that one degenerate friend down the street that'll tell you certain shit as well.
Speaking of that, Jersey Girl, the scene where he has to sit down with the daughter.
Yeah.
And she's like, she's 7? I think she's 7 or 8.
Yeah, about
7 or 8 or something like that in the movie. And I guess a boy that lives in the neighborhood, same age, they go to school together and they're hanging out, like play date.
Yeah, I think they're like doing they're doing something where it's just
it was just I don't know if I didn't have to worry about that stuff at my kid's particular age, but in the movie, if that's something like, I guess that's probably natural. Anyways, he has to sit down and have a talk like this. This is appropriate. That's not appropriate. And I'm always like sitting there, and I've watched that scene a million times. I went, I really don't want to have that talk. Like, I don't want to ever have that. Like, it was the worst. It was the biggest nightmare for me. And now that as my kid's getting, I'm just like, I don't have to have, that is what she has a mom for. Like, I will be there for support. I will not judge.
Right.
But I will say Kevin Smith has a good way of like things like that kind of come back to you. When I watch it, I go, I'm going to take from that and be like, let me react.
And
half aloof, and let's not half talk about this, but I am totally like going to make sure you're safe and again, supported.
Even coming full circle on what I mentioned earlier, where it's not even just a matter of being a fan of Kevin Smith. It's taking the idea, like he has great advice. Whether he means to give it or not, he has great advice. Where like one of his great things that he says is that he tells so many people, just go create. It doesn't have to be the most like popular thing. It doesn't have to be the most.
Well, you have to be a certain motherfucker to just sit there and talk and answer like question one of three for an hour and a half.
Have you not listened to GUI?
Oh God. No, I mean, but I've been to a few of his shows, and just he's awesome. He's awesome. But it's one of those things that you have to be a certain level or give off a certain vibe to even sit there for an hour and a half.
You gotta realize I have been a fan, and now we're just proverbially jerking him off at this point, which is fine by me. And I hope he's okay with this too. If he actually listens.
might be more you. I'm a little far. Like thanks for some of the support.
You're just sitting in the corner watching. It's okay.
I cuck.
Yeah, there you go.
Don't you dare.
But besides being a dork with my wife when we first started dating and stuff over Kevin Smith, the times that we have seen him live, and it wasn't until this year with the opening of Smodcastle to where I actually got a chance to be this close, where we're just a couple feet away recording this, where I was able to be this close to him just to be able to sit there and go, I'm a fan, and actually give the man a hug, which he was, I mean...
Wait, did you ask for it first?
Yes, I was, yes, I am respectful.
I'm just, listen.
I give respect.
You're like shaking right now a little bit, so I have to make sure that you didn't attack the man.
You can, I almost did, in a good way. But I did offer that the ladies could go do whatever, like him and, like, because my wife loves his wife as well, like the Plus One show that they do.
Jen.
Yeah,
Jen's
Jen
awesome.
Schwalbach, yes.
Yeah, she's swell. Yeah. I never read her, I haven't read anything that she did when I guess she was a journalist.
Yeah, USA Today.
USA Today before. Like, I don't think I've read anything she's done, but I respect.
Great journalist from the work that I've seen her do. So, yeah, but, I mean, I even offered up to Kevin. I was just like, hey, man, the ladies can go do their thing. Let's just go smoke a joint and fucking talk to me. And he seemed like he was down with it, but he was also probably just being polite with a crowd full of like 50 other people in the room. Right. So, but the offer still stands. So I'll definitely, of course, name drop, one thing we've started doing just recently with the Geekfathers, besides just tagging people, I'm going to do a separate post of the name drop post that goes with the episode.
Social media tagging people.
Yeah, social media.
Just so you know.
Not going out there and actually tagging so I know where you are GPS-wise or anything.
Sick bastard.
I know, right? Something so demented. But the fact just to sit there and when you can talk to a man like, I'm a fan of his work, the ebbs and flows of his movies and the stuff that he's done, just knowing what he does, knowing that the attitude that the man has, just like anybody else, he fell in some dark times. Because we also watched a documentary while we were at Smodcastle. So you saw certain things that weren't always there. But just to be like, dude, I'm a fan, give a hug. Because that's what we do in GUI anyways. We're huggers. Or, we're huggers all around here anyways. But...
We are.
To hug the man, you smell the geek and the weed, which was awesome. It was nice. And
I'm so glad the children are asleep.
I know. Shh. we won't. Yeah, we won't go there.
Oh, but no, they're completely.
But when you get a chance to talk to a man where you admire his work, or a person where you admire their work, you're a fan. You do things in similar vein, I guess, just with podcasting, doing some other stuff. You're not trying to achieve what they've done, but you just sit there
hell
and go,
yeah, you are. First off, just because it's a labor of love doesn't mean you don't want something from it.
But I'm also not out there peddling my shit either. To be honest.
Well, first off, no. Like we're not. No. If you're working
we're out the window now.
If we're working as hard as, let's say, somebody like Kevin Smith, just in self-promotion alone, that's things like that. That's a different story. All right, we don't necessarily live those kind of lives yet. Even if, honestly, I don't even know if I'd want that kind of life. Like I said, I respect the man for being, and anybody out there for being sort of unapologetically them. And hopefully they're not shitty people. Let's even
generalize that this is the way all geeky parenting should be, to keep it on task, is where you're doing what you think is right for your family unit.
Yes, what's right for your family may not necessarily be right for someone else's.
Exactly.
But the core of that show, like how to be a parent, generally how to be a parent, whether you're a geek parent,
right?
I think anybody can be a geek or a nerd about something. That's just my personal philosophy.
Well, yeah, and I've even talked about that on early episodes.
Yeah, it could be from like computer to farming. Like it doesn't matter to me.
Sports.
I know I'm doing a country accent, but
well, we are in Virginia, so
that's true.
But yeah, I mean, it was nice. It's nice when you can tell the people where there is some influence to where they keep such a basically my point is that even though he hit dark times, overall he still comes out and can at least show a positive face that you don't want to see those dark times. Those are his personal times, which is the case for most people. But he was still able to do something for what he gives back. And I just always find it funny where the biggest naysayers are the ones where like, oh, you did this, blah, 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 and insert whatever example you want to give. But he's like, that's not how it works.
All right.
You're
right. It's not how it works. But here's a total left field question. What would you do if you had, whether the influence and or the money, that whether Kevin Smith does, and I'm sure he'd probably be the first to be like, well, I'm not, rich. Like he's probably comfortable. Like he'd probably be the first. But whether it's that or just like, super rich or super, you had this influence as a parent of somebody who's grown up as a general person trying to do the right thing every day, raising their kids and having a family. How would you use that not to just affect take your personal family out of it, like your friends, like this is what I would do and I would like that. Like this is not like if you won the lottery.
I'd buy all my friends houses on the same street so we could have the neighborhood, the block party and blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Especially with your kids watching. How would you take that gift, whether earned or not, but it's a gift is a gift, it's still there as a present to affect anything else around you? Like what's one thing you would do? Just like top of your head, but the kids are watching, what does your mind go to?
Honestly, and because this is even goes down the hole that I've been in as well, would be really the broadest answer I would say is education.
Okay. That's good. That's
whether
not bad.
Higher education working towards more so of...
Would you be like an anonymous donor to public school systems?
That's what I'm trying to think of, is that how I would approach that, because that's what I was about to say. You could definitely, you want to work within your... Which, again, I've preached about since episode 1, this is about our community as well.
Yeah.
We are one tribe, we are one village. So, yes, the public school system for our area... and even surrounding areas, whatever I could do to benefit that. So you start with a younger age to even fulfilling to even higher education of whether it would be a way to build relief for student debt and even putting us into more of like the way a lot of other countries are, to where you shouldn't have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars just to get an education or a trade. There are different ways to do it where everybody still benefits. Mm-hmm. We are just such in this grinding cycle of the way it is here in the U.S., I'll say in general.
It is what it is. Attitude. Right.
I would work towards building towards to the most cliche phrase you can in this situation, put towards a better tomorrow.
Yeah.
Is really where my mind goes, because you're also talking to someone who... Which is fine. I did my higher education later. Yes, I have student debt, but this has been the way I have felt for 20 plus years. And I'm 43 now. But even before I did my higher education out of high school and stuff, I have always felt that way, to sit there and go, knowing the friends who traveled or moved to other countries, and they were able to sit there and go, oh, I don't have to sit there and get all these crazy loans to do this just to further my life and to find a better life. You can do so much more. Why are we not like that in the U.S.? Why are kids... And again, a prime example is, why are kids being denied a lunch because they don't have $5 in their pocket? whether you're poor, rich, or otherwise. Why would you deny a child food in a public school system?
Well, I can't imagine anybody wanting to work in the school system and then choosing to accost, verbally or in any other way a child, period. But especially when it comes to something like that. Not having enough money for lunch is not their fucking fault. It is not.
Right.
If a 12-year-old should not have to work for the money. This is not the 1930s. We're good.
Exactly.
We've moved on. We shouldn't break them down that early.
Yeah. In other words, we're getting into that deep dive that we try to avoid sometimes, but we need to.
No. I will say for me, I would do all the things that I in my head or when I see in social media, help this family, people who have lost, help and give. I would troll the GoFundMe accounts and just donate. That's not. And locally, I would try to donate like you did, whether to the schools or certain,
programs,
that are going to help the community. And I would love to do. I would love to see my kids see me do that. Just so that they hopefully, that's something as they get older and they're in a position to do that themselves. I'll do that.
I'll even take the martyr route where I'm not even worried about my kids seeing me do that. The fact of as being a parent, and to me, what a lot of the parenting is, whether I can contribute to the benefit of it, but especially if it involves a program where, of course, you start with in your own home first.
Yeah.
If it's a program my child benefits from, knowing that I was a part of being able to ensure that program was there for them. To me, that is the goal of a parent.
Right. Yeah, short of trying to teach my kid to be a decent person or to be better than I was.
Well, it would be a total teaching lesson. That's why I say I'm not worried about the
is to leave them the means I didn't have when they're old enough to make those decisions, to make their way in the world. I mean, that's the hope. Any parent that genuinely gives a shit, and you hope that's every parent, but unfortunately, that's not every single person. But the people who are, they want that sort of future for them. Right. And they want them to be decent people. And that's how, we've learned. I know, for me, I learned it from my mom. She was the mom and dad for me. I learned it from her. She taught me how to be a decent person. And, I have older brothers that did the same as well. But certain shows and things like that, they did help me. Not just to escape reality, but to kind of show me outside of myself what kind of is important. I've always went towards the hope factor. I've kind of always went towards that. So anything that has that, I even to this day, I watch certain commercials and they have that hopeful feeling, like it's not forced. I will choke up.
Oh yeah.
And I'll tell Lorelai, that makes Daddy feel good because it's hopeful, and we need that because hope is what keeps us going.
Right.
And she's like, she's at that age. She's like, Daddy, I love you, but you're so corny. Right. But I'm hoping that that's
so cheesy now.
You're being so cheesy. Like, I don't want to do this. But I'm hoping that sinks in, enough for them to, for her to, when she's older, that's how she thinks.
Yeah. No, and that's what, again, what we can all hope for. And what we've touched on, I know, again, we've... I'm going to just tag the shit out of Kevin on this and, Smodco, whatever it may be. But besides Kevin being a great influence on this, this is really what I wanted was for not only myself, you at this time becoming my partner in crime on this show, but for any listeners, anybody part of our GUI family, is just like what we said towards the beginning of the show. We all have the same baseline of we are looking for a way to better the future. Whether for GUI just giving someone some entertainment, or what we're doing as parents to... Again, this show may, in the long run, probably won't do jack shit for our kids. But if they can go back and go, well, no, wait, our parents created something on our own. what hopefully will be an inspiration for them to create something on their own. Mm-hmm. That's what this show really comes down to. That's where, Kevin has even said it himself where, he started doing certain things because he did have a child. Certain ways he looked at how he was going to put that child into the world. Other shows I wanted to make sure as a great parenting show to where it's more of the point of we're all in the same boat or we're all in the same ocean, just maybe a different boat, as the way I put it earlier, is another great show called Never Thought I'd Say This, which is one of the co-hosts will be the most familiar, which is Jodie Sweetin from Full House and Fuller House. Mm-hmm. And that show is just hilarious, as in the same type of thing that we don't always try to achieve. Like, we're not trying to be like, we're the parents and we know everything about what should be done. No, we are here making the same mistakes, thinking the same thing of, oh God, what did I do to scar my child for life? Hopefully they turn out somewhat normal. Mm-hmm. Their show, Never Thought I'd Say This, does the exact same thing. And they have some great material. The co-host on that, Cecile... Of course, I don't have the last name. Shit.
Smith?
We'll say Smith. Miss Smith. No, that's definitely not her last name. But the way Jodie and Cecile put that show together is fucking phenomenal. Because they sit there and someone like Jodie Sweetin, who is obviously at one point a famous actress who's done some acting and is familiar to the public in general, one way or another.
I like her. I think she's been through some stuff.
She has been through some stuff that is,
and then
definitely...
she came back strong. She came back more power to her.
Hard and knocking it out of the fucking fence.
More power to her.
Yes, absolutely.
Power of hope and I guess and will. Just to
exactly. My wife Jennifer has read her book as well, which is very. It's one of those tell-all type autobiographies or biographies. And tells a lot. And
we should do a review on that.
We can.
Geekfather review on the book.
Jodie Sweetin, we will be reviewing your book, ma'am. And all I can say is, because I've read snippets out of it, I'll say is a better term, because obviously I can't talk like I normally can. Or I know I can't talk. I know that. But I've read parts of it, and it's what so many of us go through. And again, where Jodie can be a great example as well of you will hit low times. Those are the times that nobody wants to hear about. But you pull yourself up if you get some type of great support system. And from what I can tell on the show at least, and obviously I'm not hearing any crazy stuff in some weird news or on Google, she's knocking it out of the park as a fucking parent. And again, since her co-host, who has been a great friend of hers for some years now, apparently, you want to talk about a support, like their families do stuff together, which is the best way to carry on with that. Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure I dropped that, where we're definitely not the only boat out there in this great ocean, but all we can do is that if you want to give a listen, this is our 2 cents here on the Geekfathers, and take it as you will. I mean, it's really, we've done this now. This is episode 100 dropping. Hopefully for your enjoyment. Hopefully, again, the very least I could ask for is, I know there's great support from our friends and family.
I know. Well, I tell you what, too, I'm surprised that we haven't heard the kids or the girls run down and make a bunch of noise. I was almost expecting that. Or the dog to bark, but no, nothing.
The dog is napping. I think she's bored. So, but I would definitely check on the kids when we're done recording.
Oh, I can hear them.
If it's too quiet, I'm just going to say, if it's too quiet, usually something is afoot.
Well, they have an entire office with the TV in it and a desk and stuff that
so
they
could
can
be
do
just watching a movie, hopefully.
Right, or they're probably playing like a game where they share.
They're
animals.
not catching the house on fire, so that's the least we could ask for.
Yes, there's nothing flammable.
Right.
I'm pretty clear. I'm pretty good about that. Yeah. That's definitely, I have to be very precise because my kid will get into everything.
Yeah.
She'll, she's curious. She'll just mix stuff together. And next thing I know, I'll have some sort of slime thing that's literally as big as the Blob at some point in my house, just all over the carpets and the walls. So, yeah.
So, in other words, children doing children things.
She is, but she's curious, so that's good. I'm glad she has that in her.
Absolutely. And guys, at this point, I know we've gone through some old man tangents. We've definitely given.
Who gives a fuck?
Well, we don't. If you're still listening to this show, because we keep doing it. So
we tell ourselves we're not going to. We even have discussions beforehand.
We pre-plan of, man, we really need to do less old man tangents, and guess what?
I think it's difficult. We don't have the central point that like the whole way through. So we're like, when we Kevin Smith that, there's your proof.
Right.
There's your proof.
Exactly.
This is what it's like to get old. We just argue to get things together, and then we don't do it.
Exactly. But one thing I can promise you is that we are, again, unfortunately, we had I guess the best way to explain it is a COVID scare in our house. It was indirect. Nobody has COVID. We are good. We quarantined regardless. We did everything. But it held up a few things where Geekfathers does, we're revamping everything. We are still working on that, but again, as you know, with parenting, this is a side hustle for us. So it's, and in that side hustle, as parents, we find it, we don't always have the time to do what would make this an official or very proper show.
Right.
So
it's not just about Geekfathers either. Even that's our name. It's about geeky parenting.
And I've explained this to a couple people too. The Geekfathers is only because we are fathers. Or
yes.
Originally the show started as the Geekfather because I am a father.
Yeah.
It's not, and I've said it multiple on various episodes and everything. This is to mothers as well. This and in so many aspects applies more to mothers, I would think, because you find more single mothers and groups out there like that.
Yeah, I mean, times are changing where you'll have more single dads too, but yeah, single moms are definitely. I grew up with the mom. Yeah, usually they have to be both.
Right.
You have to be both. You get it from somewhere, right?
Personally, yeah.
You get it from my mom. My mom raised 3 boys by herself.
Right.
And I know for a fact. Later on, she had someone in her life, but in terms of like raising 3 boys by herself, she was mom, she was dad. Yep. It was what it was.
Right. And like your mom did that, and really to wrap up the episode, great moms are out there as well. Including a great mom who, by the time this episode drops, is my lovely wife. We'll be celebrating our 10-year wedding anniversary.
Whoa!
Yes, and unfortunately with our little issue, we did miss her birthday, so if you didn't already, shout out to my wife, my lovely Jennifer. A happy birthday.
She's a sweet, sweet person. Happy birthday. Absolutely. Happy anniversary to you guys.
Thank you. 10 years going strong. We've been together 13 altogether with our 2 boys. But guys, thank you for bearing with us on 100 episodes, 3 years of letting us go on our old man tangents, telling you where we stand from.
I know. And hey, nobody's told us to stop yet, so we're going to keep doing it.
We'll blame Hobbit first and foremost for that, but everybody, we haven't. If there's been negative reviews, guess what? You haven't had the guts to tell us, so we're going to keep going, guys. So thank you very much. Keep listening. One tribe, one village. We are all here together, guys.
Amen.
And don't forget, join us.
Or cry.
Geekfather! BTW, I do that way better.
And there it is.
Coming straight from the mouths of madness, I'm Lowdown.
I'm FU Hunter.
Do you love horror?
We fucking do.
So this is a podcast dedicated to all things in cinematic horror. We're talking movies, television, composers, special effects artists. We're gonna fucking cover it.
So if you love horror,
embrace the madness.
GUIPodcast.com